What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited because the 2021 Dallas Cowboys regular season is just around the corner. It's been a busy week for the Cowboys. On Tuesday, they finalized their 53-man roster. Things going to change a lot regarding the roster. The Cowboys expected to put some players on injured reserve. They've been expected to fill out their practice squad, which is what we are here to discuss today. An important note, though, on Wednesday, the Dallas Cowboys did claim a player who was on waivers. Former Carolina Panthers and West Virginia quarterback Will Grier is now the third quarterback on the 53-man roster, obviously along with Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush, who won the QB2 job. Will Grier has an extensive history with Doug Nussmeier, the Cowboys quarterbacks coach. We got into this in a video that we did talking about Will Grier specifically, so make sure to go back in the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel and watch that. We gave it a grade. Make sure to subscribe here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel while you are at it. The Cowboys temporarily released punter Brian Anger in a bit of a procedural move to make room for Will Grier on the 53-man roster. Very similar thing to what they did with long snapper Jake McQuaid. So as mentioned, we'll see a little bit of roster shuffling happen over the rest of this week, but we know that the Dallas Cowboys have been hard at work at filling out their practice squad, and they have 14 players on it, which is very exciting. Let's take a look at the Cowboys practice squad. All NFL teams allowed to carry 16 players. We'll get to the distinctions about that in just a moment, but top to bottom, left to right, we'll read the left column first here. We have DiNucci, Ben DiNucci survives, still part of the Dallas Cowboys organization. We'll talk about him certainly. Jaquan Hardy, Nick Ralston, Braylon Jones, Kyron Brown, Darien Thompson, Isaac Alarcon, yes, part of the Cowboys practice squad, the star of Hard Knocks, Deontay Burton, Tyler Coyle, the versatile safety, Austin Faulu, Justin Hamilton. Many people wanted to see him back, and he is, in fact, returning. Osiris Mitchell, Brandon Smith, and Jeremy Sprinkle, the tight end. So as you can see, there are still 3 available spots for the Dallas Cowboys to fill out their practice squad in its entirety. How is that the case? Well, you will see obviously that there are 14 players here, but there are really technically only 13 players on the Dallas Cowboys practice squad because Isaac Alarcon is an exemption. Here are some rules when it comes to the practice squad in the NFL. The Cowboys, once again, can carry 17 players. That is 16 normal practice squad players, and 1 international pathways player is an exemption. That is Isaac Alarcon. NFL teams can have 6 veterans on their squad with an unlimited number of accrued seasons. Generally, the practice squad has obviously been something that has been more associated with younger players, but the NFL has made some rules adjustments in the last year or so to adjust for our current time. You'll recall that Brandon Carr was on the Cowboys practice squad last year as kind of an example of that. 2 players on the practice squad that can be promoted for games, and 1 that can be promoted due to COVID reasons. Again, the NFL has instituted some rules to adjust for the uniqueness of the roster challenges the teams have been facing now for over a year. There are 4 protected players who cannot sign with other NFL teams. You can make sure to place some priority on players who you don't want to lose, and you can have 4 traditional practice squad players. So that's where the math of all of this ultimately breaks out. Once again, Isaac Alarcon is the Cowboys International Pathways player exemption, so he technically does not count against the practice squad. And as you can see, as there are 14 players, not counting Isaac Alarcon, that's 13 with a maximum of 16 per practice squad. That is how we have 3 available spots. The Dallas Cowboys announced these 14 players on Wednesday afternoon, which is an implication that they are set with the practice squad for now. But again, they do have a number of roster moves to make in a number of different ways, so they are obviously going to get to the maximum number of players. They're just waiting for certain I's to be dotted, certain T's to be crossed, so they can understand which players they want to place on the practice squad specifically. A little bit about each of these players. We'll go in reverse order from how we started. Jeremy Sprinkle. This move makes sense. We talked about this on our roster reaction show here on the channel. The Cowboys are anticipated to potentially put tight end Sean McEwen on injured reserve. If they do, he will be unavailable to the team for 3 weeks. Jeremy Sprinkle, somebody who they could promote and call up as soon as next week for the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so they might do that. So Jeremy Sprinkle might be on the practice squad just momentarily. And again, if you follow kind of the math of the roster, if Sean McEwen is placed on injured reserve and Jeremy Sprinkle is then promoted to the active roster, then you have another open spot on your practice squad. So again, things are going to change. This is just the initial setting. Brandon Smith and Osiris Mitchell, Not a big deal here. Always nice to have wide receivers. I'm not trying to not give them their due and not give them their proper moment. Very happy to see them on the practice squad. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think either of these players are ones that the Cowboys are particularly excited about. We'll see how they jump rope this position all season long with Simi Fehoko and Malik Turner. Malik, one of the players, again, expected to be placed on injured reserve at the beginning of the opportunity to do so, which we are now entering. So we'll definitely keep you updated on that at bloggingtheboys.com. At present moment, at least at the time of this recording, both CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown are on the reserve COVID-19 list. So a lot of particulars when it comes to the wide receiver position for the Dallas Cowboys. Austin Feulu, to keep him around, is not a huge deal at all. Very nice to see there. But Justin Hamilton, somebody who I think a lot of Cowboys fans did not want to lose. So the fact that he's able to return, the fact that he's still there as a point of depth, especially with Neville Gallimore potentially starting off the season on injured reserve, that is what you want to see. Obviously, also with Tristan Hill on the PUP list. With Tristan Hill on the, this situation is different on the physically unable to perform list. That's what PUP stands for. He has to be on that list for 6 weeks. So while Neville Gallimore could return after 3 weeks, if he's healthy, if he's ready, obviously, Tristan Hill is unavailable to the Cowboys for the first 6 weeks of the season. So having these two defensive tackles, Justin Hamilton specifically, gives the Cowboys a nice point of depth, a nice place to turn to in the event of an emergency. Tyler Coyle, somebody who a lot of people were excited for the Cowboys to land as soon as the draft ended. Again, a versatile player, has had some nice moments so far in the preseason, but nothing I think to really be overly excited about. A fine project. We'll see what he ultimately turns into, but a nice body to have around, certainly on the practice squad, but nothing to really freak out about. Deontay Burton did not have a great game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think we all are in lockstep agreement with that. But so he's around. You have another corner. The Cowboys in an interesting position there as well with Kelvin Joseph, their second-round draft pick, potentially starting the season on injured reserve as well. You can never have too many bodies. He obviously knows, or is somebody rather that Dan Quinn knows. And so, hey, you've got to have bodies at a certain point. This next column, though, I think is one that is going to interest you more. Starting at the bottom, Isaac Alarcon again has become a really large, really sort of devout fan favorite from a lot of people. I know we have a lot of listeners and viewers who live in Mexico. I know we have a lot of international following in that sense at Blogging the Boys, and the Cowboys have a large international following. And Isaac's somebody who his personality's really been allowed to shine on Hard Knocks. Obviously, we've gotten to know his family on an intimate level, and he's somebody who is still somewhat newer to the game of American football, just because of his lifestyle growing up and not having access to professional football the way that everybody does in the United States. And so it's exciting to see what he can develop into, somebody that I think we're all rooting for here. And the fact that he is safely on the practice squad is a very nice thing. We will see where his positional alignment is in 2022, because his best chance of making the roster is certainly a year from now. Is he maybe an option at guard in 2022? That's a very future question. But for now, he's on the practice squad. I know that there are a lot of you who wanted to see him on the 53-man roster. This always felt like it was going to be the case, especially with the fact that the Cowboys have had this exemption for him on the practice squad. The Cowboys are a team that like to take advantage of those little details. So the ability to kind of not stash him, but keep him with an extra roster spot to kind of cheat the system, so to speak, is something that they always look to exploit. So it's always made sense that this is where we were going to be with Isaac, but happy to see him on the practice squad nonetheless. Darien Thompson, that one for me was a little bit of a shock. Not, in a freak out way, but in a surprise way when it came to the 53-man roster being set. I did not anticipate that the Cowboys would cut Darien Thompson. I had him on my 53-man roster. It's not because I'm trying to tell you that he's a great safety option or anything like that, but because we've seen the Cowboys be devoted to him. And it's at the safety position specifically, the Cowboys have refused change in a number of different ways. And so the fact that they would, cut him as early as they did in the process and the trimming down to 53 was a little bit striking to me, but they obviously do value him to some degree, which is why they've brought him back. Kyron Brown, another corner, another option for the Cowboys. That I don't think is really anything to make a big to-do about, and neither is Braylon Jones. The Cowboys do have a guard. Question isn't the right way to put it, but it really just the depth on the offensive line could be challenged in any number of different ways, because hypothetically, if Lyle Collins has to miss time, many people have floated out, kick Zach Martin out to tackle, move Connor McGovern to right guard, and all of a sudden, maybe you are in need of another guard. I think we all agree the Cowboys are in need of a swing tackle, but they do now have a guard and a tackle on their practice squad in Braylon Jones and Isaac Alarcon. The top three, Nick Ralston, this was somebody who a lot of people thought would make the 53-man roster, but the Cowboys have gone really light on the offensive side of the ball, at least at the initial setting of the 53-man roster. And so I don't know how much they're going to use a fullback, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a fullback, and so they're going to be playing at 11 personnel. They want to throw the ball, and whatever touches belong to the backfield, they're going to belong to Ezekiel Elliott, who's going to get the lion's share. And we all want to see Tony Pollard involved and incorporated more. And so I don't know that there was necessarily room for Nick Ralston on this year's team, but he's definitely somebody who can be involved in the future, which is why it's definitely nice to see him be part of the practice squad. Jaquan Hardy, kind of a similar sort of battle, was really profiled on this week's episode of Hard Knocks as well. The door opened for him when Rico Dowdle was placed on injured reserve, certainly last week, but it never felt like the door was truly open, just because this is a unique backfield situation compared to the rest of the NFL, with obviously the fact that Zeke Elliott has such a big contract, but the fact that Tony Pollard's role is theoretically going to grow and be larger in overall context this year in 2021. And so with same sort of situation here with Zeke and Tony Pollard taking so much of the work, of the limited work that we think is going to be available to the backfield. Limited, not necessarily, but the smaller volume that we've grown accustomed to seeing from the Cowboys sort of circa 2014 through 16, 17. It was tough. It was really tough for Jaquan Hardy to make the team. So to have him on the practice squad is a good thing. And it is also a good thing. I know you're not going to agree with this. And I don't mean good thing like, super good, let's have a party good. But to have Ben DiNucci around, you could do, I was going to say you could do worse. That's not accurate. But he is somebody who the coaching staff likes. He's somebody who the coaching staff wants to grow and develop. And if you're going to keep him around, this is the place to do it. You don't keep him on the 53-man roster. So that is the true victory. The fact that the Cowboys have three quarterbacks on their 53-man roster, Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, and Will Grier, and that none of them are Ben DiNucci is the most important thing to focus on here. Ben DiNucci is athletic to a certain degree, right? Again, to a very limited certain degree. And so to have him around to play on your scout team, you could do worse in that particular sense. And so I know that you watching, you're like, I've seen enough of Ben DiNucci. We don't need any more of that. I get it. Believe me, I do. Ultimately, though, this was very predictable. And that's why I'm not upset about it, because this was very predictable from the outset. As soon as it was obvious that Ben DiNucci wasn't going to make the 53-man roster, which was in Philadelphia last year, it made sense that the moment the Cowboys could, they would put him on the practice squad, because that's what NFL teams do with players that they like for particular reasons. The Cowboys happen to like Ben DiNucci for whatever reasons they find to be particular, but that's just kind of the way that things go for them. So a reminder on the practice squad rules is the Cowboys currently have 14 players. They can have up to 17, because they can have 16 players on their standard practice squad. Every NFL team can have 16 players on their practice squad. And the Dallas Cowboys, obviously every NFL team, but we're talking about the Cowboys here, can have one international pathways player. That is Isaac Alarcon. 6 veterans per squad with an unlimited number of accrued seasons. Once again, 2 players on the squad who can be promoted for games, and 1 that can be promoted for COVID reasons. Again, those challenges likely will present themselves. We hope that they don't. Certainly throughout 2021. 4 protected players who cannot be poached by other NFL teams, and 4 traditional practice squad players. Your final look at the initial Dallas Cowboys practice squad. Once again, Ben DiNucci, Jaquan Hardy, Nick Ralston, Braylon Jones, Kyron Brown, Darien Thompson, Isaac Alarcon, Deontay Burton, Tyler Coyle, Austin Feulu, Justin Hamilton, Osiris Mitchell, Brandon Smith, and Jeremy Sprinkle. This will change. The Cowboys roster will change. There's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of changing happening over the course of the next couple of days, which is why it's important for you to stay tuned to blogontheboys.com. We will keep you updated on every single roster move, every single roster adjustment. We'll keep you updated on Twitter as well. We're on Twitter at bloggingtheboys. My name's RJ Ochoa. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at RJ Ochoa if you want to check me out as well. We'll be here also continually on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, giving you all the updates that you need. So please do subscribe here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Like I said, we have a grade review up on Will Grier, the new Dallas Cowboys quarterback, soon to be QB2 for the Dallas Cowboys, because let's be honest, Cooper Rush won't be able to fight off Will Grier for long. We will have a season prediction video available for you at the tail end of this week. I believe that's dropping on Thursday here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. We'll tell you what the Cowboys record is going to be this season and how good they're going to be, how they're obviously going to win the Super Bowl. But the practice squad is set for now. We're getting closer and closer and closer to the regular season beginning, which is very, very, very exciting. So yeah, have a great day. You know why? Because you deserve it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you next time.